culminating with Ne'ilah. The whole Ne'ilah is really Hashem Karachim V'Chanun. So it's a perfect time to learn, to understand this a little deeper. That transition from the regular davening, which is we learned is in the world of the lowest spheres of Zer Anpin, to his galus of Yugim Midas Rachim, which is Arach Anpin, which comes from the Midah of Keser. So the page that you have in front of you, that's what I sent. I sent it before last week, but I want to make sure you have it in front of you. So this is also from the same chevra. This it's called Keser Hamayadim. I mentioned last week. We were just about to begin. So let's learn. We see V'hinei mitzad toikef adin. The right hand side on top. Mitzad toikef adin. This brings it down, what we're learning to, it makes it very, very clear and very simple. It's also the same chevra from Eisha Chasidus. Mitzad toikef adin shebekamis hamidus kamat l'shach she'adam b'olam hatach then yikabel shefa. In Tamatzi Midas Adin, we say in davening on Yontiv that if we would be judged according to the Midas Adin, then it would be Kimat Not Shaykh, that we'd be able to be worthy to receive the Shafa from above. Because of the imperfections in our lives, it would be Kimat Not Shaykh, with the exception of very, very, very great tzaddikim, and even great tzaddikim have imperfections. Therefore, the way creation took place was with the sweetening of the Midas Adin, the Midas Rachman, which is revealed at the very beginning of Chumash. That's how the world was created. In order that the Shefa should be able to descend from Hashem Kivyochel himself all the way down to this world, to the Midah of Malchus. Valkach Amru Chazal. So everybody knows, Rashi says at the beginning of Chumash, that Bereishis Bara Elokim, that the Machshava Rishona, the Tchilas HaMachshava, was to create the world, the Midas Adin. And in the world of Midas Adin, you get what you deserve. If you deserve shafa, if you deserve bracha, you get it. And if you don't, or chas v'shalom, you deserve the opposite, that's what you get. That's in the world of din. So Bereishis Bara Elokim. But the later on it says, beyond Bara it says, Hashem Elokim, Yudkei Vavkei. Ach b'ofen zeh, ein harlim yochel eskayim. Mi yamel lefanecha b'din. The world can't exist in that state of pure din, of pure judgment. Who could possibly say that I have purified myself to the point that I'm worthy of receiving this shefa from Hashem? Even the greatest tzaddik makes mistakes. Even only the greatest tzaddikim, they have, so to speak, the right to certain shafa by virtue of their tzidkus and so on. But as far as the world in general, it's basically a program, welfare, rachamim, chesed, rachamim. And this we learned from the time that we're children. That's why it says Bereishis Bara Elokim, but then it says Hashem Elokim. Because Baruch Hu, the way Chazal says, Hashem wanted to create the world with Midas Adin, but the world cannot stand with Midas Adin. So Hashem was Meshati with the Midas Rachim, but the Midas Adin. V'ini Midas Rachim Hu. So what is this? Midas Rachim. What is this? V'ini Midas Rachim Hu. Mitzad Kermes HaRotzon HaElyon HaNikra Arach Anpin. Mitzad the Rotzon HaElyon. Now we were just talking about Hashem wanted to create the world with Midas Adin. But that, what we call Hashem wanted to create the world with Midas Adin, is not truly the highest level of the Pnimius of Hashem's Rotzon. to create the world b'midas hadin. There's a Ratzon ha'elyon. There's a transcendent higher Ratzon, Hanikra Arach Hanpin, that we've been learning about. It's called Arach Hanpin. That's Keser. The Hainu Panim Gedolos, which we spoke about last year, Erev Yom Yontiv, is why we say by the davening this time of the year, Leila Ula Ela. Right? We spoke about that last year. Leila Ula Ela. So there's Leila. There's a Midas Hadin, but Leila Ula Ela is something higher, which is Arach Hanpin. Ein Shum Din ve'Ein Shum Tzimtzum. And that reality of La'ela, of the Ratzon Helyon, there's no din at all, just the opposite. There's no din, there's no tzimtzum at all. And in that place of the Ratzon Helyon, it's Hatov U'Meitiv L'Roim L'Toivim, as we spoke about last week, 2 weeks ago. Everything is Toiv. Rak Lamata B'Malkam HaMidas Nisamtzem HaShefa. Only down here in the world of Midas, of Chesed and Gvur, and so on, where there's a side of Chesed and there's a side of Din. There's the right side and the left side. In the world of Midas, which is the world of Zeir Anpin, which is the regular world that we live in, we daven in, we do mitzvahs and so on, which in the language of the Kadmonim of the Ramchal is, we spoke about as Hanhagis HaMishpat, which is the world of Din, and Chesed and Din. So in that world, Nisamtzem HaShefa. In the lower spheres, that's where there is the tzimtzum that takes place, where the shefa is, that's like the custom control, the controlling the shefa that comes through, and depending upon whether or not this person is worthy or is not worthy, that's how the shefa comes. However, there are times, and that's what we call those times in Ace Ratzon, there are times where the higher Ratzon is revealed, to the point that the higher Ratzon illuminates and penetrates all the way down from Keser to Malchus, from the highest sphere all the way down to this world and to the sphere of Malchus. That even the midos of Zeir Anpin are illuminated by the or that just explodes into the lower midos, the or of that Ratzon Ha'elyon of Arach Anpin. And I mentioned this last week, and that's what Hashem said to Rabbi Yishmael Kohen Gadol. That very strange Gemara in Brachos, where Hashem asks Rabbi Yishmael Kohen Gadol, Bacheni, to give me a bracha. Hashem asks a human being for a bracha. Hainu, what does that mean? So again, just what we spoke about last time. Sheyamshich v'yarvich lamata es ha'aretz haratzon. Hashem was saying to us, to a human being, just like He told us by Kriyas Yamsuf, that through Mesiras Nefesh we have the ability to unleash this higher Ratzon Elyon in our lives. So Hashem said to Rabbi Yishmael, Bacheni, I want you, the human being, to give me a bracha. To give me a bracha means to draw down from the midah of Keser, that or of Keser, that you should do something to be ma'or that, to awaken that, to draw it into the world. To bring the higher Ratzon, that higher or, into the midas. And that way, Hashem Kivyachal will be able to shower the world with shefa ad b'lidai. Rabbi Yishmael, and that was what Rabbi Yishmael said. He wrote some ufanecha sheyichbeshu rachamecha es kazcha v'yagolu rachamecha al midosecha v'yagolu rachamecha al midosecha. Remember, midos is something that's measured. When you have measurement, that's din. I mean, he gets, he doesn't get. This is how much he should get. That's called midosecha. That's the world of Zeir Anpin. Chesed, Gvur, Tiferes, that's how Chad Yisrael Malchus. But in the world of Keser, in Ratzon Elyon, that's called Rachamecha. Yagolus, Rabbi Yishmael Kohen Gadol, give a bracha to Hashem. Must be b'ma'or this midah. He said, Yagolu Rachamecha al midosecha. May Rachamecha, that place of Rachamim Elyonim, Yagolu should be rolled over al midosecha. Hainu, she is galgul v'ya'iru harachmim sherotzen elyon ad l'toich hamidos, al midosecha. That the midas harachmim should roll over and enter into the world, and sort of not enter into, but overtake and illuminate the world of midas. Was yismasku had dineyan, and that would bring a sweetening of all the dinim. Ya'iru b'or harotzen v'arachmim lashpia v'archav leitzimtzum. And then the aura of rotzen and rachmim can illuminate. Go a little bit over. V'archav leitzimtzum. V'archav in a way of harchava without simtzum. Now, even in that kaima, in that reality of rotzen ha'elyon, hagam shulu loigvulus v'tzimtzum. Even though that world is a world without boundaries, without simtzum, without constriction of boundaries. Nevertheless, even there is a certain hanhaga. What is that hanhaga? The anikra is Yud Gimel Midas Harachmim. That's called Yud Gimel Midas Harachmim. Ki b'lo midos lo shayach lashpia. Because if there would be no midos at all, if there wouldn't be any Yud Gimel Midas Harachmim, the world would be destroyed by Hashem's infinite light. There have to be some kelim. There has to be some way for this light of Hashem to be filtered into our lives. We can't receive it directly. The same way that the appliance can't work if you connect it directly to the power plant. It'll blow up. There needs to be an outlet and the appliance itself that filters the amount of electricity that enters into the appliance, that it'll be able to work. So too, the infinite light of Hashem, in other words, if there are no midas at all, the infinite light of Hashem would destroy us. We would not be able to experience any of that shefa. So therefore, there has to be an haga of midos, that's the Yud Gimel Midos Harachmim, to sort of be an intermediary between the Rotzen Ha'elyon, Ein Sof, the infinite light of God, and the lower world of the midas. And that intermediary that joins together this world of midos with the infinite world that transcends all midos, that's called the Yud Gimel Midas Harachim. That's what we're busy with now. Hashem Karachim Echad. Kishem she'i efshel hashpia mayim lelo kelim. The same way that you can't be mashpia water if there are no kelim to receive the water, no one's going to be able to have anything to drink. However, these kelim of the Yud Gimel Midas Harachim are much greater, much broader, much bigger than the regular midas of the lower spheres of Zer Anpeh. And these 13 midas are an haga of forgiveness, of arichas apayim, of patience and forgiveness, not midas adem. L'umas hakelim shel Zer Anpeh shehem mitzumtzamim. In comparison to the kelim of Chesed Gvur Tiferes Netzach Yisod Malchus, those are kelim that are mitzumtzamim. Those are kelim that have very strong tzimtzumim, and that's why even from the side of Chesed, but there's din and there's Tiferes, the balance, and so on. Those are kelim with tzimtzumim that are constricted and that are limited. And through the Yud Gimel Harachmim, there's an opening up where the kelim are expanded much more than the regular midas of the regular kelim of Zer Anpeh. Now this Rotzen Ha'elyon, to be revealed and to descend into our lives through these Yud Gimel Midas Harachmim, this is not every day. It's only itim rechokas. There are certain times. It's an Eis Rotzen. For instance, Sholashu this time, right? Every week Sholashu this, which is called Vayva Derayvin, which is Rotzen B'Ritzonos, which is Rotzen Ha'elyon. That time of the week of Shabbos leaving Sholashu this, that time is a very big Hizgalus also of Anis Filos L'cha Hashem Eis Rotzen. That's what we say right before we end Mincha. When we end Mincha, we go into that time of Sholashu this. Anis Filos L'cha Hashem Eis Rotzen. Elokim b'roiv chasdecha, aneni be'emes yishacha. And we're entering into that zone of Raiva the Raivin, of a higher Ratzin. Kamal derech mashal, and the mashal he gives a very simple mashal. Kamal derech mashal. Adam shehikim mifal gadol im esres pe'alim yireh. There's a person, a nice guy, that he starts a business. He opens up a business, and he has a lot of workers or yireh Hashem. He has all these from workers. Because he's a nice person, and he wanted to. And when he opened up this business, he wanted to give jobs to other chevra that could use the parnasa. So he hired all these from people. So the boss hired all these from guys, and then he came in to see how they were doing with their assignments, with their jobs. And he saw that they were not coming to work on time. And they were not working, they're not doing the work they were supposed to be doing. So the boss set up a system of midas, of times, and of clocking in, and so on, and very specific rules and guidelines of when you have to be here and the work that's expected to be done during the time that you're here. The Hamid Ish Miyuchad, there's all midas adin. The boss hired a supervisor or somebody to oversee. Livdok came shomim al azmanim to see if the workers are keeping the zmanim. And depending upon whether they're sticking to the rules at the time and they're doing their job, that's the schar that they're going to get. If you came a half hour late, so it's taken off. If you didn't finish what you were supposed to finish during the allotted time, so it's taken off. Achakach, kasha megia levakia b'mefalo. So now the boss comes again. And he sees that people are still lazy. They're not working hard. They're coming late to work. So he begins to cut the salaries. He begins to give less money. They're not living up to the takanis and to the dinim and to the midas of that workplace. And if one of the guys comes over and says, "Come on, all right, so I came an hour late and I didn't get my job done, but could you still pay me the same amount?" Even though he's a good guy, no, he's not going to invite him. Because sof kol sof, he was nice, he hired these guys, but the boss is in this, he wants them to be matzliach. The business needs to be matzliach. She'eh lefi seder. In order for anything to be matzliach, it has to be beseder. Whether it's a house, whether it's a school, whether it's a business, it has to be with hanhage. Hanhage is hamishpat. There have to be dinim. There have to be halachas. There have to be zmanim. There have to be mishpatim. And there's hanhage is hamishpat in order that the job get done in a timely way to do what you're supposed to. And it's also for the people themselves that they should grow up and become people who are doing what they're supposed to. So all of that is the ola b'ratzon b'machshava. There should be midas hadin, and that's how the boss designed the business, midas hadin, and everything is supposed to follow according to the din. Ach kasher balabayis magi levakia b'mefalo and mesiba miuchedes. Now what happened is that somehow this business made it to the end of the first year. And now the boss comes because they're having a party, a special party. There's a party to celebrate the first anniversary of the establishment of the company. And all of the workers are grateful and express their gratitude for the kindness of the boss's heart. That he has spent so much money from his own pocket in order to provide a parnasa for his brothers, for other Jews. And Now, of course, this is with human emotions. It's only a motion. So the nefesh of the boss is Misrei Memes. He's not now in a place of din. He's in a different place. He's in a higher place. When Niska Mirashis Ritzainai, Lahetiv Lachem. And he's Niska, and he's reminded of the original reason why it could be Bechlal made this business. It was not so much that he even needed the money himself, because he wanted to give an opportunity for other Jews to have a parnasa. So he had attempts to create this business. Once he created the business, in order for the business to function, he had to establish a whole Shulchan Aruch of dinim. But the Ratzon Ha'elyon of the boss is now Misgala is revealed once again on this special occasion of the anniversary. Hu niska mirashis ritzoni lahetiv lachem. Lahetiv lachem. That the Nekuda Pnimis of opening this business was not to take more for himself, was to be, of course that it should be successful, but the purpose was hatov, to be made to lachem, to give to others. And that was the higher Ratzon of the boss. Before that higher Ratzon was constricted into lower levels of all kinds of hagbalas and rules and restrictions. If you do this, then you'll get paid. If you come 15 minutes late, you lose that. All of those hagbalas and those dinim were not the Ratzon Ha'elyon. It was a second, third, fourth Ratzon. So on that day, at that Eis Ratzon of the anniversary, one of the workers comes, and he tells, listen, my wife wasn't feeling well, my kid this and that, and he's asking the boss to have some achmanis, to be mevata. To be mevata a few days, that knows to pay him the salary of those days. Ein sofik shivatalo. Ein sofik shivatalo. Ki nafsha ein eshku b'kaimes hamidus hamitzum tzomos. Because the nefesh of the boss is not shakua, is not invested in the kaimes hamidos, in that koma, in that reality of midos hamitzum tzomos, of chesed and glura. The guy that did his job gets paid. The guy that didn't do his job gets less pay. He's not in that place right now. It's an Eis Ratzon. It's a higher place. It's a different place. It's not Ein Shakur b'Kamis Hamidus. He's not in the Kamis Hamidus. Hamsum Samos. Come up MC Yemei, like during a regular day, a regular work day of the week. Ella is Ramimah Kamis Haratzon Kibirisham. Rather, there was a return to the Koimis Haratzon Kibiri Shaina. There's a famous mashal that the Kedushas Levi said over this time. He put down a pasuk and a few psukim and chazals, but the basic thing was that there was that you all know, it's a very famous story, that there was a time that the king went out. He didn't want to be bothered with all of his ministers and helpers, whatever, and he went out on a wagon a little bit to enjoy. Went for spazier, a little bit of a tiul in the woods or something. And of course, there was a terrible rain. There was a terrible storm, and he got in the mud, and he was going to die. The king was going to die. He was by himself. He had nobody there, and he was going to die. He was going to drown. And then there was a yid that came by, and he saw that, and he went and he helped. He didn't know to see to begin with. It was the king. It was the king. Afterwards, he helped the king out, and the two of them are covered from head to toe with filth. And the king said that, I recognize me now. I'm the king, and I want to bring you to the palace and to give you anything that you want, whatever you want. I want to hire you to be one of my ministers. Without you, there'd be no malchus at all. There'd be nothing. So the guy said. So and the king said, "What do you want? Tell me what you want." So he said, "There's one thing that I would ask, is that the king keep the clothing that you're wearing right now, that's covered with filth, with dirt. If the king wouldn't not to throw these out, but if the king would save this as a memory of the day that we had this parasha, and I'll also save mine. I mean, there are different gears. I'll save mine as well. Anyway, the king took him into the palace, gave him a big job, and things are going well, except what happened was that this guy started not to behave so much, and something went wrong, and he was already a shtickle Moib Malchus, you understand? A lot of these stories go. It's about us. And he was already doing things he shouldn't have done. And everybody came and said, Echad Asal Hamas, he's supposed to die. He's a Moib Malchus. The guy's not doing his, whatever, he's not a good guy. He's not doing his supposed to. And the king said, it's true. I mean, it's a melucha. And the melucha is melech b'mishpat yamed aris. There's a mishpat. The guy broke the mishpat. He broke the law. So he's got it. It's finished. And that's it. It's the end. So the rule in all ancient society places, and even maybe now, is that if someone's going to be executed, he gets to make a last request. And the request he made is that I have a few minutes to get my. And he puts on his filthy shmatas and he asks the king. Right, that's because the king would please take out. And the king put on his filthy shmatas from that day back in the forest many years ago. And the king looks at him and the king gives him a hug and he says, he's potter. And the B'ditchva Kedarko, you understand, made in this whole Limuschus and Klai Yisrael, we can understand what it means. That there was a time that the king was dragging around by himself. Nobody wanted the Torah. And we said, Nasev and Ishma. And the whole world has been buried in filth and schmutz. And we said, and we went through all of these things that we've been through for HaKadosh Baruch Hu's sake. And we said, Nasev and Ishma. So then it comes time where there's a mishpat. So that's why I said that the B'ditchva said we take out the shofar, we blow the shofar, because the shofar is what we had at Har Sinai, and Kivyachal reminds the king of that we were the only ones that said Nasev and Ishma, and it was we the only ones that came to his rescue. No one was interested in him. We came to his rescue. Otherwise, it would be nothing. So to bring back that first memory, and the shofar, of course, is Zikron Yom Rishon. The shofar is the sound of Yipach Ba'ap and Nishmas Chaim. Blowing into the shofar is the neshama, and V'ipach Ba'ap and Nishmas Chaim. So Kivyachal, to awaken within Hashem, or to draw out that Midah Elyoina of the Ratzon Ha'elyon, of the earliest memory of why Kivyachal Hashem set up this business. That he set up this business, as the Rizal says at the very beginning, is not for himself, but he set it up to be made that we should be able to experience that toiv, the ultimate toiv, having a relationship with him. So what happens is once the king and the guy was standing there in their dirty clothing, there was no longer any tzimtzumim. All the halachas of the kingdom, the whole manual, the whole fat book that says you do this, you can't do this, if you do this, you get killed. That whole fat book of all the rules and the regulations, they're nothing. They don't mean anything right now. It's the king in that primal place of the beginning of the Ratzon Ha'elyon, and in that place, all the tzimtzumim, all the dinim, all the mishpat, they don't mean anything. Sham ein tzimtzum meklal. Elamei sham ha'orvis ha'ratzon ha'rishayna lahetiv bli gvul. At that time of ratzon, there's this or to be meitiv bli gvul, without any gvul, without any limitations. Al derech zeh. So this is a mashal for how Hashem is with us. And everything that we're doing these days, everything, the tashlich and kaparas, it's all this yesod. And they say the midas by tashlich, mikel kamaycha. Everything is this yesod. Al derozeh gamken kivyochel gabi hamatzal helion. That Hashem created the world not for himself, but lahetil l'briyosah, for our toiv. And in that madrega, in that place that's called Ratzon Ha'elyon, it's lahetil bli gvul. It's kulei toiv, kulo or. Now. But Hashem could not create the world with that infinite light of Tov, because then there couldn't be a world, because there can't be a world without Midas or without Kalim, because the world can't exist in that infinite light of Hashem. So Tzimtzum is Hashefa. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world with the name Elokim, Reish Elokim, with the Midas Hadin. Creation took place with the Midas Hadin, and this is a world of Tzimtzumim, of Mishpat and dinim and so on, Kashvelaskam, as a Shevet Derech Tzidor Hamidos, Habodkos Kol Echad Ahim Roy Lashpa Mitzad Ma'aser. What does the Midas Hadin do? The Midas Hadin checks each and every one of us whether we're worthy of receiving another year, whether we're worthy of receiving a parnasa again, health, the children, and so on. The Midas Hadin is that check that takes place by the borders of this world. Whether the person's Roy Lashpa Mitzad Ma'aser. Umiyamad lefana b'ayid midas hadin pa'alas b'soikva. But who could possibly make it through? If the midas hadin is going to be medactic with midas hadin, you have, like every profession in America, every profession has certain rules and regulations. If you're in a real estate profession, I remember my father was a dry cleaner, and there was there was a guy that came in. They used to have these inspectors that came from the city because they have the machinery in the dry cleaning thing, and there were inspectors that would come to inspect the machinery. And my father said that this guy would come twice a year. And the way that people mistadir in those years, probably still now in many ways, my father would always give him a couple of dollars. And he would make a bedika, and it was always a good year, right? And that's how it went for many, many years. That guy, my father said, that guy died, and the city hired another guy. So the new guy comes. My father has this new guy coming in, and he comes. He comes with the whole book, the thing, and he comes to my father, goes to give him some money. And the guy says, "Okay, thank you." He starts to walk out. And my father says, "Whoa." So my father said, "1 second. I want you to still look over all the machines and see how things are going and how it's working. If I need to make some, you can still do your job, So the way that it works is that there's a midas hamishpat and there's hanhoga mishpat. Akash Baruch Hu wants us to do our jobs, and we have to do our jobs. But there is this remarkable time of the year, this Eitz Ratzon, of these days that are called Yemei HaRatzon, all of Elul, and the 30 Midas HaRachim, and then it's all the way till the end of, till Ne'ilah, and really on some level till Zois Chanukah, for those who believe that there's this R that's there. And so me Yamalufan avoid Midas Hadin Parlas Besoikva. Now the way that it works with businesses here in America is that, let's say you work. So what my father explained, that's why I forgot what my father explained, is that it's impossible to run the business, and to be yotzei all the dinim that they have in the official guidelines. The same way, if a person, if the district attorney decides that he's going to do a drishan chakira into this business, it's almost impossible. If it's going to be b'midas hadin, then everything's going to be l'fi midas hadin. It's set up in such a way. That it's not possible. And that's what people. I was never in any kind of regular job, just chinuch and whatever this. But in a regular malacha, and each malacha has so many dinim and so many halachas that if they want to, they can get you on something. There's always some kind of a diuk in a halacha that they can get you on, and that you were in violation of this diuk. Whatever, the machine, and my father said that's how it was. If the machine was 6 inches, it needed an extra 6 inches of breathing space next to the wall, and didn't have the 6 inches, the guy could tell you have to take the machine down. Because it needs to have, regulation says you have to have 6 inches between this. And there are 4 inches. And it all works like that. That there's a midas hadin, except that that's all with money and with bribery and things like this. But there's a midas hadin, and if it's mi yam l'fana by midas hadin parlas b'soikva, and when the midas hadin is fully enacted, when the rules and regulations are completely enacted, and you have to live according to all of those rules and regulations, that's what we say in davening. Im timatze oimek hadin mi yam l'fanacha b'din. Im timatze oimek is as if you squeeze us to the oimek hadin mi yam l'fanacha b'din. Who could possibly? There can't be a world like that. Miyamel v'necha b'din. Umiyamel l'fanav b'oid midas hadin pralas b'saikva. Ach l'famim m'sereres kaimas haratzin. So sometimes, and Hashem revealed to us those times, and the Mekubalim gave us tremendous amount of kavanis and yichudim that we could use during those times. But even if a person is a simple person and he just believes in that, and he says the Yud Gemudis Rachman, and he tries in his own life to live with others in that way as well, to be moichel. That's why it's such a big avodah to be moichel other people. Because what does it mean when you're moichel? It means alpi din. You have every right in the world to be upset at this person. This person said something to you that wasn't nice. So, if you want to take this person to din, you have every right to demand from him whatever it is that you want, whatever it is that's coming to you. So, what's the need of mechila? The need of mechila is that the person says, "I'm going to go to a place inside of me that's higher than the midas." Now, when it comes to Chayshim Mishpat, it doesn't mean you have to do it. Many times people have had all kinds of shilas in Chayshim Mishpat, and we talk about them, and say, am I allowed to do this? And I say, what do you mean? It's a dinner Chayshim Mishpat, and you're allowed to go to Bezdin, and you're allowed. But the Gemara tells us that when there were certain people that were always taking people to din Torahs, that means he was from Sheva Dan, right? Because he's always taking people, telling people, let's go to make a din Torah. So, are you allowed to throw the book at somebody and say, according to Chayshim Mishpat, I'm taking to a din Torah, I'm asking you to din? Of course, we have a whole system of Torah, and a din Torah and Bezdin, and that's perfectly fine. However, if you would do this, if any person would do that, the same thing to, let's say, an almana, and Chalila, that her husband was just killed at the front, and you come to this almana, and the almana says, I'm short 150 shkolim, on the rent. So you say, I have to go to the entire. I'm gonna have to take your dishwasher. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to take one of your kids to work for me for 6 months. So there's a certain there's an Eis Ratzon, and when you and I go to a higher place in ourselves, and we're able to come to a place that's the Ratzon Ha'elyon, to be mative to somebody, even if that person is unworthy, even if that person did something wrong. So that's the most powerful way to be ma'orer the midas hadin, the midas harachim, to open up that place of keser. When you do that in yourself, that's really what the term that I mentioned last week from the Ramak is about. That because when you and I act in the way of keser, and we come to that place of keser within ourselves, even though it's irrational. I have every reason in the world to go with this guy with Chayshim Mishpat. I have every reason in the world to sue this guy, to whatever it is. I have every reason, but you go to a place that's higher than that, and you're able to be moichel be'emes, mechila b'chesed, mechila b'rachamim. So then this the most powerful hisayrus of the midas HaKeser in the world, to open up that midah of Keser, of crown. So it's ach lefamim hisayrus kremes haratzon le'yeh kamei b'chodesh Elul shev echer b'tishrei nivra ha'olam. So the first day of Tishrei, Rosh Hashanah, that's not really when the world was created. That's the first day of Tishrei. Really, the creation began Chaf Elul. Adam Rishon was Zayom Tchilas Masecha, but the world was created Tishrei. All the Beratzon was the whole time of Elul was is a time of Elul Beratzon, the will of Hashem to create the world. The will, all of Beratzon. Livras on B'Shlei Yisrael. L'chein Chodesh Elul Hu Yimei Rachim and Baratzon. Therefore, the whole month of Elul is a time. This is the first Bnei Saschan Elul. The whole month of Elul is Yimei Harachim and Baratzon. It's a time of Rachim and Ratzon. As Mezgale B'Yoyser Haratzon Elyon L'Heitiv B'Li Gvul. And then there's a special time. It's Mezgale B'Kivyochel. Hashem is taken back to that earlier, higher reason of why did he start this business to begin with? Why did he start the company? He started the company for us. So even though we've been late and we're not doing the work we should do, and we don't, but when it comes to the Zayom Tchilas Masecha, Zikaron Liyam Rishon, and it's called Yom HaZikaron. It means the memory of that beginning, and the memory of that beginning was All Beratzon is only Lahativ. It's all Tov. It's Tov. Ratzon Zemei B'Zer HaMoichem Chachma Bina, and that Ratzon Ha'elyon then enters into Chachma and Bina, and the Gram Abba V'Ima. That's called father and mother. Just like this Ram explained, just like the father and the mother, the husband and the wife have this Ratzon for each other to be together. Then you have Abba and Ima, and Abba and Ima get together. Misham Mei HaRatzon L'Teich HaMidas. And through that coupling of the Abba and the Ima, of the high Ratzon descending into Abba Ima, Chachma Bina, they are able to have children. And the children are the Midas. In other words, it's able to, that or is able to descend into the Midas. Midas mashpiyas el hamalchus. And then those Midas are mashpiyah, that shefa, that bracha, the Midas, which are the children, and the shefa comes down all the way to Malchus. El hamalchus hatachtoina ba'an pin nehirin, the shining face, ba'an pin nehirin. Nimsa should be mei chodesh el, and of course through Rosh Hashanah, Kippur, and so on. Nimsa should be mei chodesh el, shahem yimei harachim v'haratzon, mei yibhem yud gil Midas shel rachmim, and the mshachim yeh arach anpin. During this entire time of the year, the 13 Midas harachmim are nimshachim, are drawn, are descending from that higher midah that's called arach anpin, the long face of Hashem, keser, the crown. Hamezgalim lamata ve'emsos hadikna. Now this is a very big subject in the Kabbalah. We're going to get to much later. The dikna means kivyachol, Hashem's beard. It doesn't mean anything physical, but the beard, that was the face, extends down through the beard. That's called the dikna. Shu sa'aras hazakan, which are the hairs of the beard, doesn't mean anything physical. We'll talk more about that, what that means in the future. The sa'aras hazakan, shal yodam nimshachem midas harachmim ad lamata. And through the dikna, through the beard, the beginning with the keser, which transcends the head, then it's drawn down into Chachma Bina, which is the right and left side, Chachma and Bina, and then through that into the beard, Ad Lamata. Vaydezeh misayreres hanhagah shel habariyos baruch im Yisrael rachmim pshutim. Then that hanhagah of Hashem berachmim pshutim, in a way of rachmim pshutim, simple rachmim, is revealed, bli shum tam v'siba, without any reason that we can understand or that makes any sense at all. Just look quickly. He brings the Yit of Lev on the bottom. Only it came out on the page. It says B'zal Lashon. So he says the Yit of Lev says Umatash Rabbeinu B'Teres Tzvi. He brings from the Teres Tzvi, from Zid Shav. B'Shem Rav Kodesh Mekshena, the sons of the son. Al Derech Amram Lo B'Sabi Taima. Remember the Gemara is talking about there on Shabbos about how at the end of time, so Hashem's going to say they're going to have a time that we sinned, and Hashem's going to say no. He's going to go to the Yisin, he's going to go to the Ovis, and Avraham Avinu is not going to have a good teretz, and Yaakov is not going to have a teretz. Yitzchak Avinu is the one who's going to save us. He's going to divide up the Pal Yalai, Pal Yalach. The whole Gemara there, Yitzchak Avinu is going to save us at the end of time. We're going to say Avinu Ata. So the Gemara there says an interesting lashon. It says Lo B'Sabi Taima, Lo B'Dardik Yeitza. Hashem said Lo B'Sabi. The Zayda, the grandfather, the Saba, Lo B'Sabi Taima. He doesn't have a good taste. He doesn't have a good thing. And B'Dardiki means the grandson, which is Yaakov Eitzah. Doesn't have a good Eitzah. Yitzchak is the one. Because Yitzchak in the end is the one who's going to defend us at the end of time more than anybody. So the way he explains, Lo B'Sabi Taima, Ki B'Zer Anpin, or Benukva Misnaig Al Pi Tam. He says that Lo B'Sabi Taima, Saba, the old one, the ancient one, Atik Yoimin, that's the Midah of Keser. Right? Lo B'Sabi Taima. In the world of Keser, there's no Tam. There's no reasoning. There's nothing rational. There's no justification. In the world of Saba, which is the Zoking, which is the Atikim, Hashem's highest, which is the Ratzon Elyon, Lo B'Sabi Taima means is that the grandfather doesn't have to give a reason why he's good to the grandson. So is this. The kid is terrible and this and that. The parents have all kinds of midas and dinim and so on. But by the Zaydim, by the Bobby is Lo B'Sabi Taima. The grandfather doesn't go with tamim. Doesn't go with din. Lo B'Sabi Taima says, Ki B'Zer Anpin or Benukva Misnaig Al Pi Tam. In Zer Anpin, meaning Chesed with Ves Netzach, how you decide, it goes with a certain tam. And in Malchus, it goes with a certain time. The schus or the hafcha, whether you're worthy, you're not worthy, you're guilty, you're innocent. Al besaba, but when it comes to the Zaydi, besaba hu atik, it's called atik, ancient. It's before. It's higher than that. Totally hakol b'rit Sonya's baruch. It's a world of higher ratzon. The ain't sarach liel shum tam. There doesn't need to be any explanation for Hashem's love, or any explanation for the grandfather's being the zakah, the grandchild. It comes from something before there was any of this program, with all the dinim and all the halachis, rules and regulations. It's lo b'sabitam. There's something higher than all of that. That's the avodah that we're in now, and Hashem's baruch. We should be able to see in a very, very clear way. It should be the Midas Rachman and everything that's happening that we're seeing now. We should be able to see that this Gilu of Midas Rachman from that highest place of Atik. And she was able to Amen. Amen.